Take control of your finances. Gain insights from top industry professionals. Financial topics that matter to you from your go-to resource. This is Right on the Money with your host, Dennis Mattern.
Hey, hello, and welcome to Right on the Money, the show that features financial advisors, insurance professionals, and fiduciaries who discuss financial topics that empower you to take control of your finances. I'm your host, Dennis Mattern. Today, I am joined by Dan Brooks, president and founder of Xexis Private Wealth. Dan, great to have you here, sir.
Good to be here, Dennis. Thank you.
Now, the topic that brings us together is your new book titled The Truth About Financial Industry's Profit First Agenda.
Right.
And I have to first off say, congratulations, Amazon bestseller.
That's correct. Yep.
Nice. So let's dive right in. Writing a book is no small undertaking. So my first question then is, why?
It's something that I've meant to do for a long time, and other people that know me kept prompting me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would be talking about something, they say, you need to write that down. So it just finally got to the point where I decided to do it, and hired the right people to make it easier on me.
Yeah. Now the book, I would almost say yours. There's a little bit of a expose-ish type feel to it. So I mean the title's provocative. The Truth About the Financial Industry's Profit First Agenda. Tell us a little bit more about that.
In the book, I go into this a little bit deeper, but I got into this business kind of by accident. My dad years ago got some terrible advice and lost a ton of money. And I didn't find out about it till he passed away, and my mom said he wasn't able to leave us much. But I remember those days. Our life changed dramatically. So when he passed and I found out what happened, I got in this industry because I was kind of mad.
Mm-hmm.
How could this happen to somebody that was so bright? But it was because he was sold something. And it turned out that it wasn't the right thing. So that's how I got into this business. I was a restaurateur, thought I was going to spend my life doing that. And that leads to the book. Yep. Because when I got into the business, of course, you have to work for one of the big companies. Mm-hmm. And I discovered that it was all about selling. Mm-hmm. People might think that the Monday morning meetings are how do we do a better job, but they're really how much did you sell last week and why didn't you sell more and what can you do this week?
Yeah.
So they don't do a lot of process, of deciding what the right mix of products is. They're taught to sell something, whatever it is. Get the client, you can go for the rest of the money later. And that just rubbed me the wrong way, but it kind of confirmed the reasons that I got in the business and kind of why I went off on my own.
And that independence is a big deal.
I think it is, yeah. You don't have anybody looking over your shoulder, forcing you or encouraging you or to sell certain products or certain companies. Mm-hmm. So it gives us access to the entire suite of products that are available.
Well, let's talk a little bit, the book goes into this, but the role of a professional advisor, because right now more people have more access to more information hopping online, and yet more people make terrible decisions. And in the book, you've got a couple great analogies of why somebody should work with a financial advisor. And I think, would you share the Audi story? I think that's a great one.
Yeah, and that's just one example. I've got a couple of very high-level technicians that work at Audi, mm-hmm. and they're fantastic cars. But they tell me stories about their customers who try to do something on their own, or they go to a local friend or a local service department to mm-hmm. work on their Audi. And then they bring it in because it wasn't fixed right, and these guys have to unravel everything that was done wrong. Yep. And the client ends up spending more time and money than they should have when they really could have got it done the right way the first time. And that's the same in a lot of things. I have other analogies in there. One time in my house, I hired an interior decorator, and she didn't get anything new. She just used what I had. Yeah. And it was an amazing difference. And what you said about the amount of information is the very reason that people need a professional in this industry. There's so much information that people are more confused than ever.
Right now, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about a project my wife wants me to do on our fireplace, and I'm thinking I might be giving someone a call. So the question that I have to you with that is, so what should someone look for? You're in the general public, you're watching the show today, and you're thinking, hey, I need some help with my finances, my retirement plans. What should I be looking for when I'm choosing a financial advisor?
Well, obviously, I'm biased towards independent advisors. And that's not to say that the large companies can't do a good job. But that's just my bias.
Expand on that, because I think that's important.
Well, in my industry, you're either working for one of the large or even medium-sized companies. We can all name them, and I'm not going to pick on anybody, but they're household names. Or you're working for somebody like Xexis Wealth, who is an independent, has their own company, and they don't have somebody telling them, what to sell and when to sell it, or try to move this product this week. So I think that independence is important. I think being a fiduciary is important. The fact that they took the time to get that license, where they're legally obligated to do what's right for the client, which is not true of all advisors. There's other, what I consider lower standards, where they don't have to do what's in the best interest. It just has to be appropriate for that person. So like anything, I think experience is good. That you want somebody that's seasoned and has seen a lot of things. My time in the business, when I talk to a new client, very rare where I haven't seen that similar situation several times in the past.
What about one thing you hadn't mentioned, and in knowing you and your commitment to your craft, let's talk about education.
Well, education, of course, is critical in any industry. And in my industry, like many, there are designations that we can acquire.
Sure.
And some of them are relatively easy to get, and some of them are very complicated. But I don't think having somebody have a designation is a game changer. But it can just be a clue that somebody that has a designation or more than one has taken the time to learn things and proved it.
We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and Dan is going to talk with us about the key first steps that you should be taking to start planning for your retirement. Also, I want you to know that you can always watch full episodes on our YouTube channel or at rightonthemoneyshow.com. Now I'm going to ask you for a favor. Squeeze the like button, click subscribe. That way you will not miss a single show. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Hey, welcome back to Right on the Money, your go-to resource for the financial topics that matter to you. Now, if you're just joining us, we're here with Dan Brooks, president and founder of Xexis Private Wealth. Dan, great to have you here today.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Now, we talked on our last segment, and folks, if you're just joining, if you just hopped in on this one, you want to check out the last segment, because we talked about the role of professional advisor, of having a financial advisor in your life, how important that is. We also talked about your book, and I'm going to give you kudos again and a congratulations, because Dan has a book. It's The Truth About the Financial Industry's Profit First Agenda, Amazon bestseller.
Yes.
That is super cool. I am at the age now where it just dawned on me that I am going to retire. Like, this is an actual reality. And I'll be honest, I haven't taken too many steps forward other than I've been squirreling money away. But that's just this, I don't know. I don't have a plan. So what are my first steps that someone like me should take, starting the plan for retirement?
You just took the first step.
Nice. Which
is realizing, hey, I need to start doing something, right? So you've been saving money, and what you're going to find the closer to get retirement is all these decisions you have to make. What about Social Security? When am I going to take it? What about my spouse? When should she take hers? Medicare. I've got to make decisions there too. And I've got all this money in my 401k. What about the taxes on that? How do I deal with that? And when you do meet with an advisor, you're probably going to find out a whole bunch of questions you didn't know that you should be asking, because the planning, any sort of planning, especially for retirement, has so many elements. We call it putting a puzzle together.
Yeah.
And that the book is a part of the reason of that, to make it a little more understandable for people.
But would you talk about the ease planning process that I believe you even have it trademarked, which is super cool? This is a process that you built, and how it simplifies really this complex and almost overwhelming world here.
Yeah, because my clients through the years are telling me that when I first meet them, like very common, like I know that I've got this, but I don't really know how that works, and I bought this a few years ago, but I can't really explain it to you. That's almost everybody. Then they go do research and they talk to, friends and CPAs and attorneys and bosses and brothers and sisters, and then they go to Google.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get answers to what they think are the right questions. So Problem number one is it becomes overwhelming. And problem two is they don't know the right questions to ask. So what we did is simplify it for people. We have what we call the 5 aisles of where your money can go in retirement. And we make it very simple for people, because when it's explained to people in simple terms, people are smart. They don't need somebody to put a plan together for them. They just want to know what their options are.
Sure.
And we teach them the positives and negatives and how to put things together. And people are smart enough to figure it out on their own.
Well, from a high level, walk me through the EASE planning process. I know that each letter stands for something.
Yeah.
Walk me through that.
Yeah, the EASE, the first portion is education, like what we're doing here.
Yep.
Because you have to have accurate information about the things that you're worried about without sales pressure, nobody trying to push a product on you. So education is learning what's out there, the positives and negatives. And once you have that basis of education, then you can go to the A in EASE, which is analyzing it. So, okay, now I understand it. Let's analyze what we want to do here. And that leads to the next step, which is strategize it. What is my strategy going to be to get me where I want to go? All the things that I want, as much as possible, the things I want. How do I put a strategy together to do that? How do I avoid all the things I don't want? And the last one is the most important, and it stands for enjoy. And by the way, the EASE planning process came to us, we named it that acronym because our clients at the end of the process that we use were always saying to me, Dan, when I first met you, I was so confused, I didn't know what was going on, I wasn't sure we were going to be okay, and I feel so much at ease. And my director of operations, Desiree, he actually came up with that and said, we should name it EASE.
Nice.
So that's where that came from.
Very nice. Now, I like everything you just said, and folks, I imagine you do too. So if I'm out there and I want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for me to get a hold of you?
Whatever is convenient for somebody. Obviously, the telephone is easy, or sending me an email. We're located in Florida, but we have clients all over the place. One of maybe the only good thing that came from the COVID was that we had to start using Zoom.
Yeah.
And our clients locally are using it, and our clients out of state, of course, are using it. So, I'm happy to meet people over Zoom anytime.
That is awesome. I have to imagine, when you say the enjoy part and people relax and the ease, it does. I can see where that would take a load off of all this confusion to actually have a plan put together.
Well, it does, and when you are confident that everything that you want, or as much of it as possible, is going to happen, and you don't have to watch the stock market every day and hope that it comes out great, that you really know that your plan has already accounted for that. That if it goes up, that's great. If it goes down, it's not going to hurt you, because you already know, you understand it. Well, that puts people at ease, and that's the last part of the ease, which is enjoy. Enjoying your retirement is the goal. You've worked a long time to get there, and this is not time to worry about your money. It's time to know how much you can spend comfortably. And by the way, one of the things we're kind of known for when people come to us, they have an idea in mind of what their budget's going to be in retirement. And many times we're able to tell them that they can spend considerably more than that safely. So that's a lot of fun.
That's got to make a lot of people happy.
It does, and it makes us happy too.
Now we're going to take another break, and when we come back, though, we're going to talk a little bit about some of those key strategies in the accumulation years, and then also the retirement years, and some important differences. But then also, I'm going to ask you about maybe one of the most overlooked aspects in retirement planning that a lot of folks miss. Folks, you do not want to miss that. So remember, if you like the show, do us a favor, squeeze the like button, click subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. We'll see you right back here in just a moment. Hey, welcome back to Right on the Money. Our guest today, Dan Brooks, president and founder of Xexis Private Wealth in Florida. But Dan, actually, like you mentioned before, heck with Zoom, everywhere.
Yeah, we have clients move from Florida, and we can keep working with Zoom, and we have referrals from outside the state more and more all the time. That Zoom is almost like being there, and
sure
people
is.
are more and more used to it. So
it sure is.
It's a great tool.
Now we're going to dive into, I think this is a really key area. We got two things to talk about here, but the differences and I think a lot of people miss this, but the differences when it comes to investment strategies and the need for change from the accumulation years to those retirement years. Break it down for us, Dan.
Most people accumulate their wealth before retirement in the stock market. And the market has always been a great way to do that. It's one of the wealth generators that that people use. The other big one would be real estate. But since most people use the stock market, and we manage money, our group manages billions of dollars, so we understand it very well. Of course, people know the market fluctuates.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about 2008, where it dropped, for many people over 50%. But if you're approaching retirement now, in 2008, you were a younger person. First of all, you didn't have as much money built up. And secondly, when the market dropped 45, 55%, you were feeding it into your 401k or IRA on the bottom. You were buying it on sale. So that creates what's called hindsight bias, which means your account, because you bought it on sale, came back faster than the market as a whole. And people remember that. So they think it's going to happen again. And it might if you're still feeding it when it's down.
Sure.
But in retirement, when you're relying on that money, are you taking money, are you putting money in when you're 72? No, you're taking it out. So those are two completely separate ways of doing things. And the hindsight bias of what happened to you back in 2008 could be completely different if it happened to you in 2030.
Well, you do such a great job in the book of laying out those differences, that the accumulation years, your growth focused, the retirement years, your income focused, which is fantastic. Which brings me to, in the book you mentioned this is something we need to touch on, maybe one of the most overlooked aspects of retirement planning, long-term care. How important is it? And give us an overview.
Well, when we say long-term care, what we're talking about is the potential for huge medical expenses. Normally later in life. It doesn't happen. It doesn't have to be. The need for long-term care help could happen at any age. But we group it as long-term care, meaning, what happens if I need somebody to come into the house or I need to go into a facility? Somebody has to pay for that. Medicare does not pay for it. They only pay for about 13%. So it's your money that's going to pay for it. And it can be hyper expensive. Today it can be $30,000 to $120,000 a year. So that can wipe out somebody's nest egg pretty quickly.
Yeah.
People have a lot of misconceptions. They say, well, I looked at long-term care insurance and it's just way too expensive. And that's true. If you're 60 years old, it's very expensive. What they don't know is there's several other options, and there's always new ones coming on that they just haven't heard about. So what we find is that people kind of bury their head in the sand because they can't get long-term care insurance. They thought that was the only solution.
Yeah.
They don't know about the other solutions, and when we explain those to them, we get like, wow, I didn't know we could do that. So there are ways to mitigate those costs that most people just aren't aware of.
That's what I love about your the system you use, the E system, that E, education, and really almost re-education, because there are these preconceived notions, and we were talking about it in the first session about the amount of information that's
sometimes
out there.
It's deprogramming.
Yeah, that's a great word.
Yeah.
That is a great word. Now, for those of you that are out there, you definitely want to get out onto Amazon and you want to find this book, The Truth About the Financial Industry's Profit First Agenda. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Dan, his contact information up on the screen, but the book goes into estate planning. We don't have time to talk about these ones, avoiding common pitfalls and how to create a holistic plan. We didn't even talk about taxes. So, folks, you need that book. Dan, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Good to be here, Dennis.
Absolutely. And then for those of you out there, don't forget, you can watch full Right on the Money Show episodes on our official YouTube channel or at rightonthemoneyshow.com. Now that's the spot where you can get the up-to-date financial news, the insights from the top insurance and financial professionals in your area. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.